Hi, everyone. Thank you for being there. So we are going to have a talk together about decentralized AI. First of all, who knows what is decentralized AI? Raise your hand. Okay, two people. So what is very nice today is that we are going to discuss somebody really not a lot of people really knows. So we are going to ask ourselves the question that why 85% of AI in the world is controlled by giant tech companies. And for the future of the humanity, it is the first and the only path for AI. So the big question is how if people can also permissionless, be able to control, to own, to contribute to AI on a collective and collaborative basis to build the future of, the tech and the digital applications. So this is what we are going to do today. And we are going to present you several projects and several concrete applications in the real world of what is centralized versus decentralized AI and how it's, birthing in the tech ecosystem today. So the second question is, do you know the BitTensor blockchain? Who knows? Okay, 1, 2, 3 people. So today we are going to talk about BitTensor. It's the reconciliation between AI and blockchain technology. And a lot of very talented people here will talk, about this blockchain today and how it creates value for the real world with health application, computer vision for football application, and venture capital application, which is very interesting. So first of all, maybe centralized versus decentralized AI. Olivera, maybe you can help us on, what is centralized AI, what is decentralized AI, what is the difference, and what are the opportunities?
So hi everybody, thanks Jean-Thomas. Before jumping into the topic, I just want to raise some figures to your eyes. If you've read specialized press, forecasts in a revenue generated by AI in the 10 next years are going to be counted by trillions. So basically, it's a real revolution coming in. Now, there's going to be at least one limit that we will all have to overcome. It's natural resources. Because the natural resources that are going to be needed to fulfill the AI compute is going to be huge. So basically, today, decentralized AI is going to be a topic for the future. If I have to deep dive, just first of all, who raised their hand about who knows decentralized AI? Okay. Again, say a word about decentralized AI. What is decentralized AI for you?
Just a few words today. As you said, intelligence artificial are owned by big tech, and decentralized AI is taking the artificial intelligence near the end user. That is the first keyword about that, and the technology behind that is very.
You're right. Good point. Decentralized AI refers to artificial intelligence that is not controlled by only one unity, central unity or server. It's operated throughout a distributed subnetwork that is the learning curve for all AI. Instead of traditional AI, which relies on one centralized processing or data center. So that's the main difference between centralized, decentralized. Quite easy, huh, so far. Not that easy. Hey, Thomas?
Yeah. Absolutely, it's not easy, and so I was talking about the BitTensor blockchain, who is trying to elevate this decentralized AI at scale. This blockchain comes from 0 to 4 billion in valuation in 2 years, and you don't know yet them. And these people are working for this blockchain. So maybe, Michaela, Max, Gustav, how you describe BitTensor in 2 or 3 sentences? Maybe Michaela first?
Hi, everyone. I think a lot of people draw the comparison between BitTensor and Bitcoin, and in many ways it takes inspiration from it. It's a decentralized network, and it simultaneously solves for the funding and coordination of AI development with tokenized incentives. So within BitTensor, you have subnets that are solving specific problems around AI. So for example, in my case, we're a drug discovery company, and so we're doing really large drug screenings with the help of BitTensor. And it helps us process a lot more data at a cost-neutral way.
Hi everyone. I would say that BitTensor, I mean, same thing, but it's a 24/7 competition with people bringing intelligence and compute to get a part of the, the incentives, the rewards that the system is providing on a daily basis. So the core of decentralized AI in BitTensor is that if you have a very, very complex problem to solve, and if you have a very simple way to validate, verify the outputs from machine learning models, then you can set a competition that can go continuously. And you can just enter a very positive feedback loop.
Hi everyone. So yeah, to keep going on that metaphor, so if you think that BitTensor can help solve competitions, think about like OpenAI on one side that has, thanks to BitTensor and its openness and its decentralization, access to any developer anywhere in the world. And these developers are actively paid by the network with the token to participate and to help improve the models. So that would be, for example, one application of decentralized AI in BitTensor. You also have many others, and that's why I like to think about BitTensor as the Olympics of intelligence. It's like a big network with many different competitions and everyone participating to be the best at their own competition.
If I sum up and I'm trying to do my own metaphor, BitTensor is like a giant brain of the world, and think that every day $5 million are distributed to the people who are contributed in the network. And this distribution is function of the quality of the work of the people. Very simple. And every day it happens, and at the end of the day, all of this ecosystem is creating value because people can have access to this digital application, but at the end of the day, the people is owning the blockchain. Anyone in this room can invest in BitTensor and sell the token if you don't want to be a shareholder anymore. And this means that you will own a part of this global infrastructure if you believe on the project. So maybe we can deep dive on the concrete applications. Michaela, Max, Gustav, what are you doing on a daily basis? And I think the most important thing is that why, for example, you are doing drug discovery for big health companies. Why doing this on BitTensor instead of doing this with venture capital and private equity, very traditional?
Yeah, I think BitTensor really shines when you can find a problem that's currently limited by misaligned incentives and not necessarily like science or technology. So in the case of drug discovery, companies raise hundreds of millions of dollars in an effort to discover a breakthrough, right? But they need to keep that data closed, and they don't have any kind of incentive to share amongst themselves because their valuations depend on that being proprietary information. That means people are developing redundant models, and they're not poking holes in them. So the predictive power of them is generally low or would be unimpressive to people that are not in the industry. The way that we're structuring our challenges, our miners are agnostic to the value of the output. They're just looking for the reward. And in having that incentive to just look for the shortest path to the reward, what we found is that we have a unique advantage. They're immediately revealing the blind spots, and then we can use that to retrain the models and really increase the predictive power and therefore the identification of molecules that can be good drug candidates.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we're probably doing the same, even if in our case we are doing computer vision, so we are teaching machines to understand what's on the screen and then to create visual models around what's happening on the screen. We started in sports, in football, but we could actually do it for a lot of different industries. The most important thing I would say is launching something on BitTensor compared to going to a venture capitalist, for instance, has been like a tough conversation internally. But at the end of the day, we have people that are bringing roughly $1 million worth of compute each and every month on our system. So I don't know about any startups, probably even more in France or in Europe, that is able to spend this amount of money in the early days just to figure out what can be solved. So I think it's a very good lab. Let's say like it's a big incubator.
So yeah, I think what you both mentioned about people coming to contribute to what you guys are trying to do and getting paid by the network and not directly by you guys is really amazing. And so what personally I do in the network is that we basically help people decide which applications, which subnets should be funded in comparison to one another. So we currently on BitTensor, there are like more than 100 applications like Max's or Michaela's. And the big question, the big problem of BitTensor is basically to be a decentralized funding mechanism. So it's to say, okay, we're creating all these tokens, but which application is worth to fund? Where should we direct the incentives? Who should we be paying? And that's what I try to do and help people that just hold some tokens to decide where they should vote, so where the funding should go, which is very important to the whole way BitTensor works. Because if the best applications get funded, then they can improve what they're doing, and it's just a flywheel, right? It's just a positive, virtuous cycle. And that's what BitTensor is. It's basically a decentralized funding mechanism. So think of like a decentralized VC, where any application, any problem like Michaela's or Max's can have access to investment and to funding thanks to the network participants.
So at the end of the day, to sum up, it means that any one of you, if you want to create a digital application, you have the traditional way, you raise venture capital, and then you're trying to build your startup, and then you will try to find some people, and then you will need some machines, some compute to develop your AI. This is the traditional way. The BitTensor way is that you create a subnet, you need approximately 100K, and then people from the whole world will contribute to your digital application. Compute will be seamless, and you will pay through the network only on a variable basis what you consume. And at the end of the day, people will have access to your subnet, so your digital application. So you will raise zero money from venture capital. It will be the network. The network will help you to have some money and have the best contributors. And at the end of the day, if your application is valuable, it will generate some value in the ecosystem and for the real world as well. So this is not the traditional way, and we are convinced that basically this open source way can also be fundamental to, I would say, disrupt the coalition mechanism, meaning that when there is a problem that in a certain market needs to be solved, and it's not solved by the company itself, maybe it's the coalition of the companies contributing together in this ecosystem and then benefiting from the resolution of the problem, which is really breakthrough. And at the end of the day, this problem will be solved, the money and the value will be distributed in function of the contribution of each one. So it's more fair, it's permissionless, it's distributed, in contrary of the very traditional way. But today there are a lot of challenges because it's really the early stage of this technology, and maybe we can talk about that with you, Oliver. What are the challenges of decentralized AI today?
Before speaking in challenges, I just want to step back a bit about the benefits and then stepping into the challenges. Can you imagine a world where electricity would belong to only one person? Of course, no. Can you imagine a world where lamp will only belong to one person? Of course, no. AI is the same thing. Basically, the benefits of decentralized AI are the weaknesses, are the strengths, which are the weaknesses of traditional AI. Distributed data, distributed computation. Today, that's not the case on centralized AI. We do have a limit, and it's natural limits, something I just told a couple of minutes before. You do have a subject around privacy. We do have a lot of legislation going on about privacy, data privacy. With decentralized AI, you train model without having your data leaving your devices. So basically data breaches. you reduce the risk. So in terms of privacy, you have less risk to create data breach without touching the data raw where they set within the local devices. You do have as well a topic about authority. Who govern, who control the AI? When it's distributed, it's much more fair, and you don't have one entity governing the AI. It's the network, it's every contribution, and every participant will be rewarded for the work it has done. And finally, in terms of resilience, we all have issues with at home or in corporate, issues with the IT, it doesn't work, I don't have my service, and so on and so forth. AI will follow the same path. Okay. Now, if it's more distributed and if it's you have more contribution, then you have less risk of single point of failure, which you do have because it belongs to only one system. So basically, the strength of decentralized AI are the weaknesses of traditional AI. And this is the beauty of the thing. We do have today technologies that are enabling this model. Blockchain, peer-to-peer, federated learning. What else?
Yeah, thank you.
So you have inferences as well?
Yep.
Pre-training?
Yeah.
So on and so forth.
And so on and so forth. So basically, decentralized AI will come, and we will have to work on. So rather work on it before than being the last one. That's it.
Yeah, and to my experts from the BitTensor ecosystem, what are the key next steps for you to elevate the blockchain to another level? Because 4 billion is not so bad, but OpenAI is at 500 billion, if I am right. By the way, it's 4 billion without any debt, and OpenAI has raised 400 billion of debt. So, yeah, that's crazy. So, what are the key next steps for you to move forward?
Well, I think for us, we're trying to build a bridge with a traditional industry that currently isn't using blockchain technology, and based on our analysis, it doesn't make sense from an economic standpoint. Like, if you actually just look at the math, every single company should be leveraging this network. So to me, what it shows is that we need to demonstrate, like as a case study, how effective this can be in improving the reliability of AI technology in this field, and use that real world data, like synthesizing the molecules, grounded in some sort of like common ground where we can all agree on the results and be like, if the numbers don't lie, I think it will elicit a tidal wave that onboards like a lot more people to the network.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I will double down. I would say for big corporations, probably the most important thing would be to surrender on the defendability, like not trying to be another OpenAI, but more trying to go and get the best inferences or the best commodities about AI. I think we are pretty much in the same dynamic, I would say, with Michaela. We're trying to build a bridge to try to make people understand that it's a service in the end. It's just a service. We can get people the same service for way cheaper, way faster, and in a way more resilient way. The only thing we kind of have to do and create is the right ground for to have a conversation. That's what we're trying to do today. It's quite unusual for us too. Most of the time we're talking online with pseudonyms and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I'm wearing a hat. Sorry for the attire. But yeah, so yeah, no, actually we are doing things that companies around you today are most of the time not even able to do. But since we are crypto, blockchain, yada, 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 most of people think that it's dodgy, but actually everything is open, everything is transparent, and everything is open source. So you can check, everything is public.
I'm thinking about two things from what you said. Is one, I think entrepreneurs from the traditional tech are probably fed up with VC taking most of the ownership of their startups. And with BitTensor, you have the opportunity to just prove your point and have a product market fit pretty quickly. Don't get me wrong, it's very hard. Max and Michael, I can testify. But if you can get there, you can just sell your funding can be dictated by the community and by the token holder, which is a very large pool of people, instead of just a few VCs. And so this is a big opportunity for anyone that wants to launch a startup, a research thing, or whatever. And I think we need to make that very clear, very accessible, and kind of like open the playbook like Michaela and Max are doing. So yeah, I think that one thing. And the other one is, I think people are underestimating how big of a shift this is. Like, Michaela, I don't know if you shared how many people are on your team, but when I heard that, it's just totally insane how different the approach is, how far they can get, and yeah, just how different the approach is. So yeah, it's
I
insane.
actually was thinking about that. So to give you guys a sense, we did not raise money. We got a loan from the founder to cover the registration slot, and the token rewards us, the miners, and the people that score their work, right? So we're a team of 4, and in the last 2 months, we've already received 2.7 million molecule submissions and screened against like under 5,000 protein targets. You can't do that anywhere else. So I think if you just think about it from like a mathematical perspective, if really the goal here is innovation, and that increases just from like a probabilistic standpoint of the number of actors that are trying to get at a single problem, technology like this that lowers the barrier of entry and allows people to give it a shot really accelerate these timelines.
Yeah, I'll double down on this as well, because to give you a sense of what we're trying to do as well, you have a company that's pretty well known called Scale AI that is doing data annotation. So we went on a benchmark against them. So Scale AI is, so let's take a football match. I mean, PSG won, like a few weeks ago, so let's keep riding this wave. A football match lasts like 90 minutes. For Scale AI, it takes roughly 10, 12 hours to annotate a football game, and it's actually super fast. For our subnet, and just for you to know, this company is like 6 months old. We're annotating 90 minutes of football in 2 minutes. So we moved from 12 hours to 2 minutes. And I don't think anyone can do this in like the traditional world.
What's the multiple? It's like, yeah, more than 100x or whatever efficiency.
Yeah, it's probably in the thousands.
Yeah, thousands. Yeah, it's insane. So that's for the entrepreneurs. But then you also have for the investors, right? So originally, only VCs have access to early stage startups, right? But like tomorrow, if I'm convinced by Michaela and Max, which I am, I can just go on internet and buy their equity, right? So like it's a few clicks, and this is so like it's a pool of more than 100 startups, open, funded by the network that every one of you as individual investors can access today. And this is insane, both from entrepreneurs and investors.
And of course, it is what Jacob said. Jacob is the founder of Bintensor. He said that it's the intelligence revolution. He's like a shaman living in Peru, but yeah, that's crazy. That's very interesting because what he said is very important. It means that tomorrow, if each one of you want to invest into a VC process, it takes time. You need to fill some papers. You need to think about it. You will wait to have rewards because the money you will have invested is not liquid. Tomorrow, if you are convinced about Michaela, you can invest in his company in 10 seconds. And if 10 minutes after you are not convinced anymore, you can unstake. So it means it's like very fast. And in any way, 10 seconds is not enough. If you want to invest long-term speaking in Michaela's company, it means that you will stake. It means that, if I say that in simple terms, you will benefit from being in part of the ecosystem, meaning that you will be rewarded on a daily basis because you are an investor. And she will say thank you, of course. And at the end of the day, you will benefit from the emissions of the service that Michaela will provide to the health ecosystem. So this is, I think, very interesting to believe that and to think that globally it's creating a network. Everybody is contributing to each one because you need compute. You lean to people who are doing compute. You lean on data storage as well. And everything is on the same blockchain. So this is very interesting.
Last word, we're speaking a lot about startups and VCs, but you can think about large corporations that have to solve complex issues. They could cooperate on a sub-network together, or the sector solve an issue together because the model, the AA model, will be trained on much more raw data than only one company. And there's no any capitalistic link. It's just a model where they commonly want to solve one problem. So this is where it's pure added value.
Just to add on this, I think the most in the traditional world, I think the industry that really understood the power of the crowd and how you can use it is probably the finance world. Hedge funds are using this a lot. My background is in hedge funds, and we were doing machine learning for sovereign wealth funds. You always want to go orthogonal to the market, and I think finding this, being on this stage, trying to have this conversation with you all, is probably a way for you also to, on your daily operations, to think differently on how you would, implement AI to your process. And I think cooperation, collaboration, this is something we are vouching for. It sounds a bit Che Guevara, or it sounds a bit, naive, but actually it's working. So I think even from an economic perspective, it makes sense.
Yeah, the best example and the easiest to understand is data storage. If you store in traditional tech 2 terabytes of data, it costs approximately $500 a year. In the BitTensor ecosystem, it's $50 a year. So the proof of efficiency have been made because it's distributed and it's peer-to-peer. So peer-to-peer is more efficient than going through corporations. But at the end of the day, solving scalability problem will elevate, I would say, the capability of this ecosystem to solve corporate problems. So yeah, that's pretty everything. Maybe one last word. Do you have something in mind? That's okay. Do you have any question in the audience?
Excuse me. I have just one question about the decentralized area. No AI, no cloud without connectivity. So telco companies have to invest a lot of money to make this happen. In your point of view, what could be a business model for telcos to support this type of innovation? I'm just concerned about that, and it's very, very interesting for us to have the...
So I'll take it. So there's a very interesting, by the way, this is a super interesting question. At the moment, I think the system is relying on individuals' access to connectivity. But there's also, in our world, tricky world, there's also protocols that are what we call decentralized physical infrastructure networks, where, for instance, I won't mention any names, but you can enter a certain protocol and buy like a dongle, for instance, and you would contribute to the network and extend the network to certain areas, or even create a network in parallel. So I think what could be interesting, but it's maybe just food for thought, would be to kind of cross both, having someone from the telco industry trying to push this kind of distributed connectivity that would also benefit to distributed intelligence. Maybe it's something for someone else to create, but that would make sense.
And also to pursue, and I think the biggest question is how the corporate world can enter this, I would say, very breakthrough innovation. This is your question. So you have, I think, 3 ways. First of all, consider the Tao token, that it's building the whole ecosystem and thinking that you want to invest in to support the global blockchain. But this is not, I think, the best way for corporates. The second way is to use actual technologies which are built on the blockchain, which are the subnets, to try to benefit from the efficiency of the distributed application. And third, I think it's the most promising way, that you have a problem you want to solve. You build the subnet with this ecosystem. And I think it will be the best for the big corporates, and especially the heavy compute corporates or heavy data corporates, that, okay, we have this. We want to have the best engineers in the world working on my topic instead of hiring them, having a very traditional salary project management system, trying to believe in the distributed system and saying, okay, this is the problem. I'm creating the subnet. Please, the community, work for me. They will be rewarded at the level of their contribution. And you, as a founder of the subnet, you will benefit from 18%, right, of the long-term emission of the digital asset you would have created. This is the long-term value. Because you are the owner, you benefit. And at the end of the day, if your competitor is using, because it's open source, if your competitor is using your service, he will reward you 18% of the revenue. This is the model. Another question?
Hello. Is the bit sensor blockchain a fork of Ethereum once? A fork of Ethereum?
No, it's not. They built it on something that is very close to Polkadot. So
okay.
it's yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We are not going to deep dive in too much technical details, but it's substrate Polkadot blockchain, which is very efficient. And at the end of the day, it's customized to have the capability to build some subnets at scale. And today there are some questions about how many, subnets we can build on the blockchain, basically.
One thing about that, though, maybe it's that Bit-Tensor, what caught me about it is that it's only like 10% crypto, and the rest is really like something else. It's really the subnets, what's being produced, how to architect the networks, how to like work on the problems, and the crypto, the blockchain part, it's just what it needs to be. And this is very important and very different from what we've seen in crypto historically.
Yeah, and I believe, and I don't know if you agree, that it's the biggest revolution since Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin, it was permissionless peer-to-peer money transfer, but it doesn't create value for the real world. It's just peer-to-peer money. Today, it's peer-to-peer intelligence with this blockchain. So it means that the intelligence can be used by companies, venture capital firms, private equity firms. Anybody can benefit from the system on an open source basis, of course, and not closed source basis.
One thing I always wonder is when things become transparent and accessible to anyone, you lower the entry barrier, and then it makes also the competition probably more aggressive. So my question is, how do you protect yourself from the competition, from people running the same 4 people agency with the same protocol? It creates competition by default, no?
Well, I think I would celebrate that competition as a way to really fast track the quality of our outputs. So you have levers in how you design these problems, but I would actually argue that that's a good thing. Like if you think about just like natural evolution, you want to have a hyper-competitive environment. In fact, this is like the most meritocratic, market-driven ecosystem you're going to find, and that's why I think we actually stand the chance of innovating better than closed labs, because we get to be that ruthless about it and still coordinate and collaborate. And those are really the recipes.
I would say that the quality of the output is completely overtaking the risk you are mentioning. And also, most of the time on subnets, you get access to the commodity. So let's say the least common denominator. And then you do whatever you want with it. So then you build your IP.
Yeah, basically, this is a highly competitive environment, meaning that the most competition you have, the bigger outputs you will have in terms of digital assets. And that's exactly what the founders wanted at the beginning, meaning that there is no politics. Every reward is linked to the quality of the work you're doing in the ecosystem, and that's all. The number one factor is the quality of your work, or the quality of your validation, or the quality of how you structure the work. In any case, everything is incentive-based intelligence. So meaning bigger intelligence you have, bigger incentive you have at the end of the day.
No more questions? We can have a drink then?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.